Welcome, beautiful Paris Saint Germain family. In today's video, I will give you guys 5 stuff we have to do to beat Bayern Munchen at the Allianz Arena. If we follow these 5 simple steps, or do at least a majority of them, we're beating Bayern on Tuesday. First one is the dub. What do I mean by the dub? It is because there's one part of the pitch where the game is going to be decided. Paris Saint Germain's strength versus Bayern München's weakness. And yes, I'm talking about Paris Saint Germain's right flank versus Bayern München's left flank. Bayern will most likely be lining up with Davies, Kimmich, and with Palhinha and Pavlovic out, it will be Kimmich and Goretzka in the double pivot. Kimmich obviously being on the right side, Goretzka on the left. Obviously, maybe Konrad Laimer could still play there, but it will most likely be Goretzka against Ousmane Dembele as the right winger for PSG. Achraf Hakimi is the right wing back that pushes up a lot, and Warren Zaire-Emery as that midfielder that also rotates on that right hand side. And I think this is where Paris Saint Germain, because this is our main strength. If we can use it to our best, if Dembele, Hakimi, Warren can all be impactful and do crazy stuff on that right hand side, it will make the game so much easier for us. If there's going to come a goal and there's going to come countless of chances, it's going to be from that right-hand side. And as I said, when you look at Bayern, you got Kimmich, mistake-prone defender, Goretzka absolutely cooked, and Alphonso Davies obviously always has those question marks defensively. And we've seen Dembouz cook Davies when he was playing for Barca, so it's not going to be anything new here. All we need is Dembele and Hakimi and Warren to have a great game. If they have a great game, I think we're winning this game, because that's how important I think this part of the pitch is. I think Kompany and Bayern Munchen going into this game know exactly the weakness they have on the left side and the strength that Paris Saint Germain have on that right hand side. Second up is the duo between Luis Enrique and Kompany. Can Luis Enrique mastermind and outsmart Vincent Kompany into this game? For me, there's one simple thing that Luis Enrique at least has to look at. Going into this game, because they always do their research, they watch the games, everything, so they should be knowing this. Bayern Munchen obviously played versus a team called FC Barcelona this season in the UCL and got spanked 4-1. But when you look at the stats, Bayern had 60% possession. I know they have 1.04 XG. That's extremely bad, especially having 60% possession. Whilst Barca only have 40% possession by 2.23 XG. Still not that high for scoring 4 goals. And if you look at the momentum of the game, you can see that downward Bayern had majority of the ball. They had majority of the so-called momentum. But they still lost 4-1. Again, I can compare Vincent Kompany's Bayern a bit to Paris Saint Germain, where we have a lot of possession, but we're impotent. We don't do that much with the ball when we have it. And after watching that Barca game, maybe Luis Enrique can adapt something from Hansi Flick's tactics. If we take a look at the heat maps here, we can see the majority of the Barca players throughout the 90 minutes were in their own defensive half, whilst for Bayern is the complete opposite. I think Luis Enrique going into this game has to think about what he should do with the ball, because for the first time this season we're actually coming up against a heavy possession side. Both Lucha and Kompany are Pep disciples. It's not the same thing with Arteta and Arsenal, especially this season, because they're playing this conservative terrorism 3DMs football. But Luis Enrique will come up against a manager that wants to have the ball, and we know Luis Enrique wants to have the ball, which is a great thing. The thing is though, I don't think it's going to be this 50-50 game where both teams have a lot of the ball. It's going to most likely be one team that has more possession than the other team. And with Bayern being at the Allianz Arena, maybe they are the team that's going to have more possession. For me, the main thing is Luis Enrique going to give away the possession to Bayern Munchen. Is he going to do that and play more direct football, similarly to Hansi Flick's Barca? Because we saw how well that worked versus Bayern. Why not give it a try? I think we are in a very delicate scenario where Luis Enrique, for the first time ever, has to start putting his philosophy to the side and do what's best for Paris Saint Germain to have a chance to survive in the Champions League and go on into the knockout stages. I've constantly been talking about the players complaining about the style of play Paris Saint Germain have under Luis Enrique and how they want to play more direct football. This is what the players have been saying. Lucho's game plans are starting to irritate many players. Last year, Kylian didn't really apply the instruction imposed by the coach, so the players had more freedom on the pitch. On the other hand, this season he's uncompromising about what he expects from the players and in each position, and several players in the squad feel restricted. For example, he asks very specific things from the offensive players, which leave less room for their freedom. If the instructions are not respected, the players are directly reprimanded, whether in the locker room or during video work. For example, he doesn't want to see the attackers take the depth, so we have offensive players who are used against the register. However, several players in the squad believe that the team is much more dangerous when the game plan is not respected and the attackers gain depth and have freedom. The problem, Lucho doesn't want a transition game and absolutely wants a possession game, no matter the opponent. The fact of not seeing the attackers take the depth is also due to his instruction from Lucho precisely. The players, especially the attackers, are showing more and more reluctance towards Luis Enrique's game plan. The team's play is categorized as sterile and predictable by the various members of the squad. The coach was a little too strict with some of his playing ideas, such as not using a number 9. So us PSG fans have been complaining about Lucho's strict tactics, and the players have been doing it, and we're sitting on 4 points out of 12 points with majority of the easiest game already being played. I think we are in a situation where Lucho is against the wall. It's either that we sink with the Lucho ship or Lucho rises us to the top. I think this is a perfect game to actually try this out. Play a bit more direct and let Bayern have the ball and do absolutely nothing with it. That's what they did versus Barca. Absolutely nothing. I think they had a good, semi-decent 15 to 20 minute patch right after Barca scored in the beginning. But that was it. And I do think that Luis Enrique has to question his tactics, his philosophy, and at least adjust and try something in this game, because it's a special game, and I hope Luis Enrique does that. And talking about the directness of the team, one thing Luis Enrique can look at is a player he's not been using that much this season. Asensio and Kane Lee have started as the false nines for Paris Saint Germain this season in UCL. They have a combined of 1.1 non-penalty XG plus XAG in over 300 minutes played. Whilst Randal Kolomani is strictly coming off the bench as 1.2 non-penalty XG plus XAG, and he hasn't started a single game. I know that Randal Kolomani has come on towards the end where more chances are created, especially because Paris Saint Germain are so desperate towards the end, but it's clear that Kolomani gives us more potence up in attack when he is, especially in the Champions League, which maybe we haven't seen that much in Ligue 1 of Randal Kolomani. I'm not saying this because of some small patch I saw in the Toulouse game or something before. Bayern Munchen would play a high line versus us, and we saw how Kolomani looked actually very good against Arsenal in the few moments they had the high line against him, cooking Gabriel and so on. So I think this is a perfect game where Randal Kolomani can finally get a chance and an opportunity from Luis Enrique. But again, Luis Enrique has two options. Either stick with his philosophy, his dirty philosophy, that it's not working. No matter how much he wants it to work, it would not work. That is clear for every person to see. Or does Lucho choose option 2, which is the smart option, the option where you have to use your brain and intellectuality to see the weakness of the opposition and the strength that you have in Paris Saint Germain. Please, Luis Enrique, I beg you, we need to win this game. And we've seen that the way we play doesn't really work. Luis Enrique, this is not a time to play it safe. This is a time to take risks and do what's need to be done, not what you want to be done. Number 3 has to do with the press. Arsenal obviously pressed us extremely hard. They made it extremely hard for us, especially in that first half, to break out the ball from the press. Constantly winning the ball high up, forcing us in stupid passes, Barcola losing the ball constantly. It was just a fiasco. It was a disaster. I saw Donna trying to play long balls. I saw Pacho giving it to Nuno giving it to there. It didn't work. And I definitely don't want to see that again. And I hope that the PSG players and Luis Enrique have taken notes from the Arsenal game and are prepared going into this Bayern game with, some ideas of how to prevent that happening again. I believe Pacho and Marquinhos, them being our two centre-backs, they need to take responsibility for progressing the ball. Because what I saw in the Arsenal game was Nuno Mendes and Hakimi having that responsibility. I understand that. They should have that responsibility. But Marquinhos and Pacho need to take more. They can't just get the ball and give it to Nuno and Hakimi and then put them in a difficult situation all the time. They need to take more responsibility. Another addition is obviously Ousmane Dembele. He was obviously not there for the Arsenal game, and we know how much Dembele can help us, especially against teams that press us a lot, as he did versus Sociedad last season. So I do think this is something that Lucho definitely has to do some tweaks on, and the players have to improve their impact on the pitch. Number 4 is Paris Saint Germain's 2-star boys, Bradley Barcola and Ousmane Dembele. Last season, Kylian Mbappe was Paris Saint Germain's expected goal scorer in the UCL. He didn't score that many, he wasn't that good, but the expectations were on him. That made Dembele and Bradley Barcola flourish in the background because all of the pressure was on Mbappe and the pressure was off them. So they had more ease cooking in the UCL. This season, though, it's a different story. Bradley Barcola sitting on 0 goals, 0 assists after 4 games, even though he's performing very well in the league. But I think the pressure and maybe some other factors is not working. The dribbling is not there, the shooting is not there, the directness is not there, and the confidence is not there. This is something Bradley Barcola and Ousmane Dembele have to switch up. If we are going to go far, if we're just going to survive in this UCL, we need them to start to be cooking. Same goes for Ousmane Dembele, who only has 1 assist in 3 games and a lot of big missed opportunities. This cannot keep on happening. This is a game where everything that happened in the past will be staying in the past. If Dembele and Barcola can have a good to a great game, can add some GA, we will win, we will forget what happened, and we will move on to the season with a lot of positivity. But that's exactly what Bradley Barcola has to do. He has to be more confident with his dribbling and his shooting. He has to be more direct, and he has to not be scared after failing his dribbles. When it comes to Ousmane Dembele, he just needs to have an Ousmane Dembele game. An Ousmane Dembele game is a very simple game where he doesn't overtry stuff. He doesn't strictly become a selfish goal-scoring winger. It's where Dembele is the selfless playmaker that opens up space for Hakimi, for Barcola, for Asensio, for Warren, for everybody on the pitch. That's the Dembooz we need for this game. So Dembele and Bradley Barcola, it's on you to perform in this game because we absolutely need you. And lastly but not least is the Pacho Kane. Pacho has to put Harry Kane into his pocket. Because as we all know, Harry Kane is a top tier striker. He has been very good ever since moving from Tottenham Hotspur for a very hefty price to Bayern Munchen. Well, obviously, there are some question marks about his big game performances, but that maybe seems to have changed ever since his move to FC Bayern. Obviously, in the league, he's sitting on 14 goals and 6 assists, and in the UCL with 5 goals and 1 assist, the equal top scorer with Rafinha, Lewandowski, and Gyökeres. So, when it comes to Bayern, I look at Olise, I'm like, I look at Gnabry, I'm like, I like a Musiala. Musiala's cheeky, but he doesn't have that impactness. Harry Kane, though, he can score goals. He can be dangerous. And that is why Pacho needs to be on top of him the entire time. Read his game. Make every step hard for Kane. When nobody sees, push him. Liver shot. Anything Pacho. Because we need it. This will be William Pacho's first test at Paris Saint Germain. He needs to be tight on Kane for every single second of the game. Before, against Arsenal, play Havertz, not really a striker. Even though we could say made a mistake for that first goal we conceded. Pacho in this game has to be fully concentrated and fully focused for 90 minutes. The issue with Harry Kane is he's not a normal 9. He's not a normal target man. He will be dropping deep. Will Pacho follow him? That's interesting. But what I do care about is whenever Kane is around the Pacho's area, Pacho has to be on him. Don't let him take a shot. Don't let him take a long shot because he is very dangerous. And we cannot let Harry Kane take shots against us. So William Pacho, we believe in you. You need to have a good game. Those are the 5 stuff Paris Saint Germain need to do to beat Bayern Munchen at the Allianz Arena. Let me know in the comments down below, what more should Paris Saint Germain do to beat Bayern Munchen? That's been it from my boy PSG, and as usual, allez Paris.